We had an opening change. What? Why did we have an opening change? Okay, so I thought Brynhildr was only going to be like 12 or 13 episodes. I didn't know we were getting into the halfway point. I mean, why would they change the opening song if we only maybe have a couple episodes left? Does anyone else know anything about this? If anyone knows that this series is going to be going past 12 to 13 episodes, please let me know, because I thought this series is only going to be like that, like a one-core season. I didn't think it was going to have another opening to be able to announce that it's going to have like 24 episodes. So if it does, I'll be all happy for that. I would be very happy to see this series last for 24 or 25 episodes. But anyways, let's talk about that new opening song. That new opening song. Oh my, I'm not a fan of the lyrics, I'm gonna be honest here. I miss the electronic dubstep we had in the first opening, but I do like the scenes and the animation in the opening. The opening looks really good. It looks really freaking good, and I love getting to see a little glimpse of the alien. I'm guessing that's inside of these witches. That's what we get to see in the opening a little bit. We get to see Valkyrie just tearing up the fucking city. Oh my god. So, overall, the opening, I don't like the song, but I like the animation. It looks really freaking good. I'm just gonna be honest there, and I like the way it looks. So, besides that, let's move on. Okay, so this episode, right at the start, my hopes, my dreams were fucking just crushed. Went down the freaking tube. Nanami dies. She gets ejected. She dies, literally, she dies. And what's even more tragic about this death is that literally nobody remembers her besides the main character, Murakami. And I'm like, it's just, it's just so fucking depressing, because what's so depressing about this episode is because you see freaking just Nanami disappear, she disintegrates into goo and gel, and then as soon as she dies, you have Kasumi, Kana, you have Kotori, you have Kuroha, all this, oh, we need to take out this is trash, this is disgusting, and I'm thinking like, oh my god, why are you saying it's just a fucking body, it's a body, it's just, oh, it's so, you know what, oh my god, that is awful, that's awful. I'm gonna be honest here. I mean, they're all looking at a dead corpse that's been disintegrated, ejected, jellified, and they're like, oh, take out the garbage, take out the trash. At first, I was getting pissed, but then we find out that, you know, Nanami erased their memories of her in the last second. I'm like, oh my god. It's so sad. It really is sad. But what's so interesting about this is it looks like Nanami inserted her own subconscious or something inside of Murakami. As we know by now, and I've neglected to talk about a lot, is that Murakami can remember everything. As I said a little bit in my last review, he has photographic memory. And so, she inserted herself inside of his memory. And so, I'm guessing she's technically alive? What I'm getting from that entire scene is that Nanami is technically dead but alive. I mean, her memories and consciousness are inside Murakami, and Murakami couldn't forget, you know, Nanami even if he wanted to because of his photographic memory. So either way, Nanami technically would not have been forgotten, so I'm guessing that's the reason why Nanami chose to go inside of Murakami's subconsciousness. Either way, I like that development. There's a lot of mystery around that. Hopefully they do explain that, because that's something that's definitely having me question, like, is she dead? Is she alive? Either way, the physical body of Nanami is dead. She is dead, and nobody can see her anymore besides Murakami, if that technically is Nanami, and that is disappointing and very depressing. It really is depressing, because I was enjoying Nanami's character. I mean, we had an entire episode last week with Nanami's, like, character development. She was becoming, like, a part of the group. I was getting attached to her, and all of a sudden she gets ejected in this episode. I'm like, okay, so besides the depressing moment of how everybody completely forgot about her, and they swept her up like she was fucking trash, which is just disappointing. The entire sensei, the professor that is staring at the corpse of Nanami, as we know, he definitely did not forget. He didn't say nothing. We didn't see him anywhere after that scene. We didn't see him anymore in this episode after that scene, but we know for a fact he wasn't affected by the memory manipulation, because he was behind Nanami, and she was staring at the entire room, not the professor that was behind her. So, I'm just going to take a quick saying and say that most likely the sensei realizes the danger of what is going on, and most likely he's going to figure out a way to get rid of the eject button on the back of all the witches. That would be really good if he could figure out how to remove these harnesses, because, I mean, I think the harness, as we all have already emphasized by now, most likely that's the reason why the witches have their powers, but I wonder if it's possible if they can keep their powers if they were to remove that harness. So, hopefully we find out a little bit about that. Hopefully the professor sees the dire situation of what these witches are going through. Now that he's seen an actual body and saw Nanami die in front of him, he might actually start working harder to make the pills. As we find out in this episode, there's only 3 weeks left. and we don't know how much time actually progresses in this episode. We don't know how many weeks or whatever, so I'm going to take a quick guess and say there's probably only a week left by the time the end of this episode. So, we have 1 week left. The series is about to be almost technically over if it does end in 12 episodes, and so I wonder exactly how is it going to end. Is it going to be an anime original ending? Is it going to continue on into a 24-episode series? Or is it going to just do and leave us on a cliffhanger? I mean, it's possible, so it can go in many different directions right now in the anime, but there's a lot of things going on right now. Will they find either a way to remove the harness off the witches? Will the professor figure out how to make the drugs, the medicine, the pills to save the witches, or are they going to have to raid the base? Now, at the end of this episode, we see something very, very freaky. It reminds me a lot of Elven Lied. I forget the name of the little girl. I think she was in a wheelchair in the original Elven Lied. She had like 1,000 hands or whatever. You probably know what I'm talking about if you watch the series. And pretty much, she was just uncontrollable. She was a monster. She was the top level, and she killed anyone in her path. That's what I'm getting the vibes from Valkyrie at the end of this episode. She kills all these A-class witches behind her, like, I'm guessing nothing. She turns around, like, oh, you're already dead. I'm like, oh my god. And what's so weird about this Valkyrie person, she looks a lot like Kuroha, or Kuroneko, either way you want to call her. But either way, she looks a lot like her, and I wonder why. Why does she look a lot like Kuroha? Okay, so we never knew of a twin sister of Kuroha in the past. When I know the series first began, we had a little bit of backstory on Kuroha and Murakami. I don't think there was a twin sister, and if there was, it was never shown. So I'm going to say most likely this person right here is not Kuroha's sister. There's probably something else going on. Either way, wait a minute, I got a freaking theory real quick. What if that Valkyrie person was Kuroneko? What if the person we thought Kuroha was Kuroneko this entire time was actually not Kuroneko, but instead Valkyrie, the main villain S-class that just killed a bunch of people, is Kuroneko? Well, wouldn't that be an amazing plot twist? I can see that possibly happen. That would be really freaking amazing. But, this episode was a good episode. It had a lot of emotion, tension. It just, oh my god. It was just overall, it had enough setup, enough pacing, and depression in it that really made a good episode of Brynhildr. I liked the animation in this episode. We got a little bit of comedy and fan service. We had some beach fan service, especially with the entire cast and group, which I guess at the same time, I'm kind of sick of fan service, I really am, but the fan service ain't that bad. It's not so cliche that I'm getting pissed off about it, but I do not like fan service. It felt like these scenes could be used for something better, but at the same time, I realize what that scene represents. It represents their final time they can be at the beach. So I can look past the fan service and understand that the moments, the reason why they're at this beach is because this could possibly be the very last time they're all together at this beach as a family, pretty much. I mean, just because most likely eventually Kuroha might be saved, Murakami might find a pill or drug to save some of the witches, doesn't mean that all the witches will still be alive once they come back to the beach. I mean, there could be a couple deaths along the way, and I better not see Kasumi die. I better not see her fucking die. Oh my god, I'd be fucking pissed. So, pretty much, we'll most likely see a couple deaths before they ever come to the beach again, because I could see that happening. This entire area of the beach, when they showed it, felt like a lot of death flags and foreshadowing. That's what it felt like to me. And so, cannot wait to see next week's episode. Most likely it's going to be very depressing and probably some death. I see a death next week, especially with Valkyrie, the top freaking witch, coming out and just slaughters A-class witches like they were nothing. Hell yeah. So there's most likely going to be something major next week. So everybody, this could be the end of my anime review of Brynhildr in the Darkness. Tell me your thoughts on this episode. Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? What was your favorite moments about it? And do you feel like this series is getting even better and better with each passing week? And what do you feel about that new opening? Do you think that means that they might make this a 24 to 25 episode series? Or do you think they just want to change the opening since Valkyrie finally appeared? Let me know in the comments below. I love you all so much. Please be safe. Chibi out.